has used Reverend Peter Popoff throughout his entire life and ministry to bring miraculous deliverance to hundreds of thousands of people around the world.
Sure he has. We'll go with that. What's up guys, Suris here. Well, today we're going to be talking about Peter Popoff, and this guy has a bit of a history. If you're an avid watcher of Holy Kool-Aid's channel, then you no doubt have heard of the James Randi Foundation. This is the foundation that had a cash prize waiting for anybody who could prove that they had any type of psychic or telekinetic powers. He would offer anybody who could prove that they had any type of power in this vein a large lump sum of cash and the opportunity to demonstrate their powers live on television. Needless to say, no one was ever able to claim any of the rewards because no one was ever able to demonstrate that they had any power of any type. Before we delve into the history of James Randi and Peter Popoff, let's go ahead and look at some of the old footage from Peter Popoff's ministry.
Look at that man go! Woo! Man! How long? You had 4 brain tumors?
I had 4 brain surgeries, and the proof is right here in the back of my head. I stayed in the hospital for 8 months. When I came home, 2 weeks later, my husband was killed. His family wrote the military and told the military I was dead, took all my money. I just got a warrants letter for $390,000.
Say, is that gonna happen to me? Yes.
Even more have had huge sums of miracle money transferred into their accounts supernaturally.
I know God is real. I know what he can do.
Every time I go to court, they throw it out. They deny it. So therefore, they haven't been able to take my home.
And Satan, I command you to back off.
All my bills is paid and I got money to spare.
I am now a real estate investor. I have started a jewelry business on eBay. Amen. I am on my way to my multi-million-dollar potential.
I believe there's somebody out there, they have a child who's been diagnosed with ADD, hyperactivity, and learning disabilities, and I believe if you anoint your child with this miracle spring water, God's going to touch that child. He's going to buckle down, he's going to study, he's going to get straight A's.
Get better grades than he ever got before, and you'll know it's because of God's supernatural touch. It's a girl, Liz. It's a girl, yes.
Well, you just don't want to give her drugs because that doesn't do any good. You have to use the miracle spring water.
Okay, so hopefully you guys managed to get the gist of what was going on here. Peter Popoff's ministry is what we call a prosperity ministry, or a ministry that takes on donations from other people and then blesses other ones with money, supposedly. Now, Peter Popoff himself was actually at the height of his popularity in the 1980s, where he would accurately announce the home addresses and specific illnesses of any member of his congregation during what he called healing sermons. Now, for those of you who remember, I did actually do a video on faith healing earlier with Bionic Dance, so definitely go check that out after this video if you have a chance. Back to the topic at hand though, the James Randi Foundation caught wind of what Peter Popoff was doing and decided to infiltrate one of his sermons. Peter Popoff's claim was that the voice of God was telling him what the different illnesses of everyone in his congregation was, and that's why he was able to tell them exactly what they needed to do. If somebody in the congregation had arthritis but had told nobody in the congregation, Peter Popoff somehow, supernaturally, would know, and then he would perform a faith healing on them. Now, the faith healing in and of itself is disgusting enough, because after receiving faith healing, a lot of people will stop seeking medication and in some cases die as a result. Or the flip side of the coin, the people who are watching this demonstration will end up deciding that they need to support it because they believe in the work that Peter Popoff is doing. Through donations that people would give to his cause, he would end up earning about $4 million per year in the late 1980s. So where does James Randi factor into all of this? Well, as it turns out, he ended up walking into the ministries with a radio scanner. With the scanner, he was able to isolate the frequency that Peter Popoff was using, and it turns out that he was actually hiding an earpiece where his wife would tell him what people's illnesses were, where they lived, and what they wanted. You see, people were actually signing prayer ballots before the services, and his wife would just grab these ballots and read them off to her husband. Nobody in the congregation knew about this, so as far as they were able to tell, they had told no one in the congregation. All they had done was set off a prayer, and then somehow, this pastor knew about it. James Randi debunked this entire scheme, and after a while, Peter Popoff ended up having to file for bankruptcy. This would be the end of the story. However, as it turns out, in 1998, Peter Popoff started making a comeback. He started buying time on the Black Entertainment Television Network, or BET, and started targeting a predominantly African-American audience. He received a lot of criticism for this because the network is supposed to be a place where entrepreneurship can happen within the black community, and yet instead, Peter Popoff was buying time on the network for his predatory scheme. But that's not all. If you remember at the end of the video we just watched, he mentioned Miracle Spring Water. This stuff is actually part of a larger scheme, so let's watch his infomercial on it first and see what we can dissect.
God's will for us has always been to be in health and to prosper, and He's using the Miracle Spring Water to do just that.
And I sent for the Miracle Spring Water, and I want to let you know that God gave me a $50,000 debt cancellation.
I was delivered from all different type, high blood pressure, fibromyalgia, you name it, God delivered me from it. Get the spring water, it really works.
The doctors had given her up for dead, and her husband brought her the Miracle Spring Water.
My husband brought the spring water up and I drank it, and I'm speaking today. I had no speech, totally paralyzed, and now I'm testifying that through the miracle of God and your ministry.
Listen, she had no speech. She's speaking today. Let me send you your free packet of Miracle Spring Water. It's absolutely free, no obligation. Take a moment to jot down the number on your screen and call now. I'll send you your Miracle Spring Water absolutely free without any obligation. You're next in line for a miracle.
So the obvious portions of this that we have to get out of the way is that he says that the Miracle Spring Water is free. This is actually mostly true. He also makes a lot of claims about what the Miracle Spring Water can do, and these are mostly untrue because the only times that it actually does anything useful is thanks to the placebo effect. In these cases, a sugar pill would have been just as effective. There's an issue, however, that's omitted from his video that I'd like to point out. You see, Peter Popoff can't actually make the same kind of money doing his televangelizing as he used to, a combination of people knowing his shtick and television networks being nowhere near as profitable as they once were have caused him to change his tactics up a bit. What happens with the Miracle Spring Water is you order it, you get the spring water, but then he has your mailing address. Not only does he have your mailing address, he knows that you're the type of person who will be susceptible to his stuff. If people are willing to buy one lie, they definitely would be apt to buy another one. You can just do a quick search on YouTube to find Peter Popoff mail, where people are being sent 1 to 2 letters a week, sometimes even a day, from Peter Popoff. These letters go out constantly requesting money, requesting donations, and requesting funding for his ministry. The logic being, once you've bought into the Miracle Spring Water, you will probably buy into his entire shtick. Obviously, all of that information is omitted from his video, though. In February 2007, he's actually been doing more infomercials depicting him healing the sick in a manner completely identical to the methods that James Randi exposed originally. In 2015, on the Good Thinking Society, he was documented as promising fabulous extreme fortune and miracles in exchange for donations to his organization. So needless to say, even though this guy is old hat and using old techniques, he very much is still active today, exposed or not. Even though he filed for bankruptcy after James Randi exposed him, he was still able to successfully buy a $4.5 million house in 2007. So let's not be fooled, his organization has plenty of money. In 2003, his ministry received $9.6 million that year, and in 2005, it received over $23 million. The only reason we know these numbers is because up until 2005, he actually had his entire ministry labeled as a for-profit business. After 2005, however, Peter Popoff finally decided to change his ministries from for-profit to a religious organization instead come 2006. This not only made his ministries tax-exempt, but it also closed our ability to look into his books anymore. So I don't have any information on his financial data past that point, aside from the fact that he was able to make a very substantial purchase a few years ago. What this means, though, is that enough people are buying into his nonsense that he wants to A, cover it up, and B, he's able to afford more than most people would ever be able to even dream of, especially the people who are actually buying into his ministries. Tactics like these are predatory in nature and do not come from any place of goodwill. Scammers and charlatans like this need to be exposed, and if they're incredibly successful at what they're doing, then they're not being talked about enough and the exposure hasn't reached critical mass. There are thousands of predatory preachers like Peter Popoff that do stuff like like this every day. So there's another project I'd like to start on my channel if you guys are willing to help. You see, I was actually unaware of Peter Popoff until my roommate brought him up to me because he was infuriated at what he found out about the guy and wanted me to cover him on my channel. This definitely opened my eyes to the blind spot that I have. I can't see every single charlatan at once. What I do have, though, is 4,800 subscribers. If any of you find any of these charlatans and want me to make a video on them, please send me an email and I will do my best to compile one. Innocent people are being hurt by charlatans like Peter Popoff, and they need to be stopped. So if possible, I'd like to use the little bit of influence that I have on YouTube to at least contribute to them being stopped. But with that said, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon to be notified whenever I have new content coming out, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Insert end of video tagline here.